we've all had that experience of we go out and maybe we start off well and then we have a bad experience and suddenly we have what we call like a state crash, right? All of a sudden we feel impotent to talk to women. Or maybe we go out and that first set of the night is just so hard, we can't get ourselves in the mood. And when maybe we go do it half-assed, it doesn't go well, we feel even worse, and we get in that downward spiral, right? So the question is, how do you get yourself out of that downward spiral? Well, first of all, I'm going to say about state, I hate state and I hate the concept of state. I in a lot of ways, wish that the word state had never been invented because every single fucking weekend on boot camp, I have to hear somebody use it as an excuse, all right? So I in a lot of ways wish that didn't exist, but it does exist and it is a real phenomenon. There is such a thing as in-state and out-of-state, so we need to manage it and we need to work with it. But don't use it as an excuse. That's the first step. It's never an excuse. You can always take action. You can always do the best you can do in that moment, okay? You may not be able to do something amazing, but you can do your best in that moment. You're always responsible for that. However, that doesn't seem to massively correct someone on boot camp, turn their night around instantly, and get them like crushing it by just telling them that. So over the years, I figured out a few different techniques for how to turn around a bad night and turn it into a good night. And there are actually a lot of specific techniques you can use, and some work better for some guys than others. But basically, I broke them down into 4 different categories. What I'm actually going to suggest with the 4 methods that I'm going to give you is that you don't rely on just one of them. What I do with students is I know all 4 methods. I have them all kind of in the back of my head. And what I'll have them do is cycle through. First, I'll try the method that seems most likely to work for them. If that doesn't work, fine, next method. If that doesn't work, next method. If that doesn't work, next method. And the 4 methods are very, very different. Some will work better for certain people than others. Some work better for you on one night or will not work as well for you, on another night. Does that make sense? But by having all 4 and having them be completely different, you can be fairly confident that any night you can turn it around. So the first one is if you're out of state, take one specific right action. That's it. All right? You're out of state, you don't feel like approaching, go do that one approach you're afraid of. Right? And then after you do it, be proud of yourself you did it. Good, I did one good thing. Now I'm going to take just one more right action. Right? And don't focus on trying to feel good. Don't focus on trying to pull the whole set. Don't focus on being like super pimp. Just focus on taking the next one right action. And also, especially, don't focus on how it feels. Just focus on it because it's the right thing to do. Right? My metaphor for this, or my idea on this, is this is kind of a weird fact. Did you guys know that people who are devoutly religious actually live longer than people who aren't? Right? Now, I'm pure atheist, and I wouldn't believe in religion even to live longer. But that said, it's an interesting fact. Why is that the case? It's because religious people have less stress. Okay? If you're making your own decisions, nice condescending idea towards religious people. But no, by the way, if anybody's religious here, sorry. But if you're making your own decisions in really tough spots, there's a lot of stress associated with that. You don't know what's right, you don't know what's wrong. You're kind of vacillating. There's this uncertainty, and it creates a lot of trouble, a lot of panic in your body, that sort of thing. Ages you faster. If you have a set of exact codes to follow, maybe 10 of them, and you absolutely will not violate them no matter what, you may not always make maybe the best decision, but if you're deciding based on that code, you don't have the stress of deciding to do this or do that. It's set for you. So if you believe it devoutly and there's no question in your mind, it reduces the stress. Does that make sense? It's the same thing with taking right action in set. Right? If you're wondering, how do I open, what am I doing wrong, etc., who cares? Take one right action. Next thing, take the next right action. Focus outside of yourself, put it out there, and also take the actions that are most likely to get you a good result. Because one of the easiest ways to flip your state around is to start getting positive reactions to prove to yourself that you have value in the environment. Okay? So that's one method you can use. Okay? Second technique, release from outcome completely. Okay? What I mean by release from outcome completely, in practice with students, decide to fail. Decide that you're going to go into the next set and you are going to fuck it up, no matter what. If you go in and she starts loving you and asks you to put your dick inside of her, you're going to try and insult her until she says no. And if she likes being insulted, you're going to start complimenting her until she thinks you're a pussy and says no. All right? One way or another, you are going to fucking make it fail. You are not going to fail at failing, goddammit, okay? Does that make sense? You are going to make it fail. Funny enough, when I send students in to make it fail, like I can have a student most of the night who's like going in, getting blown out, going in, getting blown out. He's like, I can't hold the set. I'm like, just go fail it then. You're failing anyway. At least fail. I tell them fail in an interesting way. Come up with a creative, interesting way to fail. And they go in, and funny enough, the next set, they can't get blown out no matter what they do. Because they've fundamentally changed, right? Now they aren't outcome dependent. They're not coming in as a little value leech. And all of a sudden, things just start working for them, okay? Now here's the thing though. You can't do the make it fail technique. You can't go, you know what, I'm gonna go in and pretend like I'm gonna make this fail because that's gonna make it work. Doesn't work. You have to legitimately lose all hope, okay? If you don't lose all hope, it won't work. You have to truly, truly be committed to making it fail, all right? Here's an interesting story. One of my assistants in immersion, he took a boot camp with Julian, and Julian's mission for him was to do a 30-day challenge, go out every night for 30 days, push it to the absolute maximum, but you're not allowed to fuck a girl. You can get her all the way back to your place, you can do anything, whatever, you are not allowed to have sex no matter what. Within like 3 to 4 days, he failed the mission like 4 times. Why did that happen though? Because he truly is taking right action and releasing from outcome, right? Great drill to do. And if you have the discipline to actually hold on to that for 30 days, doing it that way, like you're a saint or something. I don't know. You should be like canonized. Okay, so that's the second technique, okay? So we have so far, take right action, release from outcome. Now, a lot of guys have trouble with releasing from outcome. I actually have gotten pretty good at it recently, but for years and years and years, I hated releasing from outcome. Why? I'm a very, very goal-driven person, right? I grew up playing competitive sports, as a tournament chess player, as a professional poker player. You have to be very goal-driven to do those things. You have to be very dedicated, very focused, and you have to want to win, right? Now, if you want to win, if one of your values in life is I want to win, how are you going to convince yourself to try and fail, right? Now, I guess you could you can change your criteria, which is actually kind of what the next step is and kind of what the last step is. Change your criteria for success to being I failed the best I could, right? But it doesn't have to be failure. It can be anything else. Just change your focus, change your goal. So say you're out and you're having a bad night. Say nothing's working for you. Well, what you can say is, you know what, I'm failing anyway. I'm going to turn tonight into a learning night. I'm going to turn tonight into a learning experience. Today, I'm going to go work on dance floor game because I suck at dance floor game. Today, I'm going to try and misinterpret every single thing a girl says as something sexual, right? Today, I'm going to try and move every single girl off the open. Today, I'm going to try to not get sexual in any way for the first 10 minutes and then turn it on out of a lame set that's going nowhere so I learn how to turn sets around. Any of those are acceptable drills, but the point is you're changing your focus from, again, trying to get the girl to trying to do something else, okay? These are very similar, the accepting failure and changing the goal, but changing the goal is more proactive. So for a certain type of person, it will be much, much, much more effective. And also, if you do it this way, along the process of your bad nights, you're going to find ways to learn and improve so that later on when you have bad nights, you have another way out of it, which is just have such good technique, you can hide the fact you're out of state. Does that make sense? That's another technique that I have after 14 years. Even when I'm massively out of state, I have enough technique behind me and enough things to say and things I've done before that I can actually get a good result completely out of state and feeling like shit because I've done it this way so many times. I've focused on learning, right? The way I look at that is say like, take myself versus like say Cristiano Ronaldo at soccer. I played for many years, I'm pretty decent, but myself on my absolute best day ever, like the most on I could possibly be on a soccer field, is still worse than like the worst performance Cristiano's put in the last 10 years by like a huge margin. Why? He's just better than me. It is what it is, right? Why is he better than me? He didn't start out that way. When he was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, he wasn't better than me, but he put in the effort, he built the technique over time, and now it's such a gap that even on his off day, he can be amazing. So that's what I like about this technique for state, of changing the focus to something learning, is that number one, you're gonna get yourself doing better that night, but number two, on a long-term basis, you're gonna create this situation where you have real technique, where you actually know what's good in game and what's not, and then you get to a point where even when you're out of state, even if you don't do these techniques, you still are pretty damn good. Right? And that's, I think, the ideal. I think that's kind of where all of us want to get to, although we'd still love to be in state because it's a lot of fun and our results still go through the roof. Okay, and then the last one, and this is like the like general self-help angle. This can really work as well. Fourth technique, change your physiology. Okay, change your physiology. What can you do? Go into the dance floor, dance, 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 dance. Make yourself dance. And make yourself dance without giving a fuck what anybody thinks. Don't be the guy that's like, are they looking? Are they looking? No, just fucking go absolutely nuts, dance your ass off, make a fool of yourself, don't worry about it. Change your physiology, start moving around. Another one, yell at the top of your lungs, right? In the middle of the club, just scream at the top of your lungs. Most likely in Vegas clubs, they can't even hear you anyway, it's too fucking loud. But even in a normal club, who cares? Or out on the street, who cares? It's okay to yell, it's okay to make an ass of yourself. Does that make sense, all right? Another drill, this I actually got from Ozzy. he has a drill he does sometimes where he will have guys try and walk with girls and just like continue a conversation while doing something absolutely retarded, right? Like for example, the one I find funniest is he has a guy walk and follow the girl while doing this, and just walk and try and keep the conversation going like this, just so he has to be a bit of an idiot, right? Just so you're doing something that's going to change that for you. It's going to create a shock for yourself. It's going to push your comfort zone, okay? Now, why does this one work? Well, a few different things. Number one, any sort of change is going to, if you're in a bad place and you change anything, that's probably better than not. Number one, changing anything is going to help. But why specifically changing physiology, and why specifically changing to bigger physiology? All right, well, what is approach anxiety? What is being out of state? Usually it comes from either perceiving you don't have value in the situation or perceiving that the situation is dangerous, right? It comes from evolution, right? If you were in a tribe and you didn't perceive you had value in that tribe, you would be scared to speak up. You would be scared that if you spoke up, someone would hit you over the head with a club and kill you, right? Or if you felt it was a dangerous place, you wouldn't want to speak up because, again, someone might hit you over the head with a club and kill you, right? So it's literally a matter of life and death, which is why we get so scared sometimes, right? But if you yell at the top of your lungs and nobody does anything to you, what does that prove? It proves either you have value and they respect you, so they don't want to step to you, or that the world's a safe place and they're not going to do anything, right? And you can tell yourself this verbally overall, like, the world's a safe place, I have value. World's a safe place, I have value. Your brain says, bull fucking shit, right? I want proof, not promises. Prove it to yourself. If you do the action, you take the action and don't get a negative result, that's when it comes around, right? This is also, by the way, this is an aside, but this is also why it's very important early in the night to open like you mean it and go strong. Because if you go into your openers at the start of the night very weakly, and you just get these mild, like, oh, it's nice to meet you. Oh, nice to meet you, no big deal, right? You're not proving anything to yourself about the environment. It's very like subdued and nobody notices. But if you get either the girl all over you and loving you, you've proven you have value in the environment to your brain. If you get the girl shoving you away and saying, fuck off, I hate you, and like, I'm gonna punch you, and then nothing bad happens, nobody kills you, you've proven it's a safe place. So you want to be polarizing enough in the way you run your night that you give yourself an opportunity to either prove that it's safe or prove that you have value. If you're in this middle ground, you'll never really get into a great state, and you'll never really prove to yourself that you're really okay, all right? So those are the 4 techniques. That's kind of what I wanted to start off with. It's kind of a new idea I'm messing around with and teaching guys. So hopefully you can use that to kind of be in state all the time.